So this is the guy that you actually want to listen to, because this is, I think, what most everyone is here actually coming. And then after that, after our break, we'll have another person who we will also want to listen to. Okay, so Mohd Suffian, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. First of all, I would like to give a thank you to Mr. Kit and the UPSF team for inviting us, for allowing us to actually give a session here to actually give out all the information, updating the information on the guidelines of how to establish an international school in accordance to our Education Act 1996. And when I was talking to Mr. Kit yesterday, he's saying that more than 100 participants. I was quite shocked because when we initially talked, we talked about 60. The most numbers of participants would be around 60, and then last night update is actually 150. So it's quite a lot, but then I can see some familiar faces, which is actually, I do know they already come to our office. They've been given the like talk about this issue also. But then most of you, I think, this is the opportunity for you to actually have some ideas of what is the procedure like, what is the guideline like, say, put in by the Ministry of Education before you can really start an international school. Because what we wanted in Ministry of Education, we wanted every educational institution must follow the rules and regulations that is set by the Ministry of Education, because it will benefit the student. And at the end, the students, actually most of them are Malaysian. We know that we are looking for the foreigner to come in to study in international school, but then as we can see the trend, we know that most of our international school right now are filling in with the Malaysian. So at the end, what we need is actually the benefit for the Malaysian. Whatever you do in your school or in your future school that you're going to start after this is actually to benefit our country back. Okay, so my presentation will be divided into three sections. First, I'm going to do some introduction on the international school in Malaysia right now, and then the second one will be on the guidelines. These are the things that have been revised and been updated for 2018, and then the procedure, what you need to do for you to apply for an international school license with the Ministry of Education. Okay. Okay, we start with the introduction. First of all, just quick check on the international school in Malaysia. Right now, we got 9 categories of private schools who are currently registered with the Ministry of Education under the Education Act 1996. So, when we say private school, there are actually 9. Okay. So actually there are. Okay, there are actually 9 categories of private schools registered with the Ministry of Education under the Education Act 1996. So the 9 categories are the private school using the national curriculum. We divided into primary and secondary school. The one that if you normally see the school name, you got the Sri Cempaka, for example, Sri Inai, Sri Tenbi. That Sekolah Rendah Sri Inai, Sekolah Rendah Sri Tenbi, that is actually the national curriculum private schools. Okay, they are using the national curriculum, exactly what we done in our government school, but then they are privately funded. Okay, and then we got the other 2 categories of private religious schools. Okay, so these are the schools that are using national curriculum plus the religious curriculum that been approved by the religious authority of the state. For example, if you are in Kuala Lumpur, so you have to get the curriculum approved by Jawi. Okay, and then we got the international school, which we're going to talk about this today, and then we got the expatriate school, which is also a foreign curriculum school, but then they are using other than English as their medium of instruction. Okay, and then we got the Chinese secondary private school. We got the special needs schools. Okay, there are the 9 categories. And then as what we're going to talk today is actually about the international school. So our definition in our country, based on our Education Act, we say that international school is a private school using international curriculum and English as the medium of instruction. Meaning that, for example, there are, I think, 2 months ago, there was an investor coming from China. They want to set up a school in Malaysia. Okay, they want to use the Chinese curriculum, and their medium of instruction is Chinese, so they are not being categorized as international school. They're going to be categorized as expatriate school. Okay, but then if you are using international curriculum with English as a medium of instruction, then you can be categorized as international school. Okay. Right now, before this is actually in 2012 we used a guideline that the general guidelines for establishment of international school that been approved by the Registrar General after the ministry, after the minister actually wanted some stringent rules and regulation for international school to be established. Because actually initially when we start promoting establishment of international school, we only got about 36 or 35 international school at the beginning of 2007, I think. And then after the ministry actually taking step of promoting more and more international school to be set up by local or foreigner, so the number becoming actually more than what we proposed. We actually targeted at 89 international school only by 2020. 89 by 2020, but we already achieved that target by 2013. So we're 7 years before the actual target dates. Right now we got, after this I'm going to show you how many international schools we already got now. So that's why the minister actually asked us to come up with some stringent rules and regulation for any operator to set up international school. So one of the main criteria that we put in the 2012 regulation is actually the 5-acre land size. I think you already know about that. And also the paid-up capital. Last time, before 2012, the paid-up capital to set up an international school is only 100,000. But then for 2012 regulation, we actually up it into 1 million, which is actually quite small compared to the university. Okay, because when we actually updated the regulation, the university sites also under the Ministry of Higher Education also updating their regulation, they put it as 5 million to set up any colleges or university colleges. So ours is actually quite small compared to our big brother in higher education. Okay, and then what was the main issue during that time is actually the 5-acre land size, where most of the applicants coming to us saying that they didn't have the 5 acres, they got 4.9 acres, 4.5 acres. Can we actually consider that? But then truthfully, we're not considering any of that. But then that's why in 2018 we actually made some amendment on that. Okay, we do believe that the demand of international curriculum by Malaysians from the nation for more international schools to be set up is there. So we do change the regulation that being enforced since 2012, and we already got the guideline approved by our Registrar General in October 2017, and it is enforced since January 2018. So what we're going to share today is actually the new and revised guideline. So hopefully this new guideline can actually give you like some space to see whether your proposal to set up international school can be approved by the Ministry of Education or not. Okay. Now this is something to be shared for you to before you start the international school. Maybe you should know about this one. Okay. Right now we got this is on as of June 2017. We already got 132 international schools, where you can see most of them, actually half of them, more than 50% is actually located in Selangor, Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur, and Wilayah Persekutuan Putrajaya. So it's actually thinking about that one is almost 65. Okay, out of 132, 65 of them is actually in the Klang Valley. But then still, when we ask the potential operator who come and apply to us, why you still wanted to establish a school in Klang Valley? They say the market is still there. But then we do believe there are some schools who are struggling to get some numbers of students. So I don't know, before you actually come and apply to us, maybe you can have a look at this issue, okay? Maybe you can go more outskirts, but then there are some issue on the outskirts of Klang Valley. There's some schools who are very struggling to get students. Okay. So this is actually the general of what you have to know before you actually come out to us and saying that we're going to establish another school in, for example, Subang Jaya, which already got a few international schools there, or you come back with we have another school in Mohd, which already pull up with a few international schools there, for example. So try to find the best location. We do believe that the location is really the most vital decision that you have to make before you actually can propose to us, because that is actually going to come up to you whether are you going to sustain in industry or not. Because right now there are several schools who are struggling to get numbers of students and being proposed to actually closing down the school. So hopefully there was more numbers coming in, but then maybe you can go beyond the Klang Valley. Okay. So that's about it for the introduction. Just an introduction of the international school. Where are they now? So what about the numbers? So I come down to the guidelines. So we're going to start one by one. First of all, it's actually about the ownership. Okay. Right now, only company that is locally incorporated in Malaysia and registered with the Companies Commission of Malaysia can own an international school. Okay. So you must be a company registered with the CCM, with a paid-up capital of 1 million ringgit, at least 1 million ringgit. And I do believe you need more than that to actually set up an international school. Okay? And then in the company's memorandum and the article also should mention about the activities of education, should be listed there. And then when you submit to us, we need the document that shows the total, the paid-up capital is 1 million, the shareholders, okay? And actually, under the autonomous trade limitation for the education services sector, we are allowed 100% foreign equity since 31st of March 2012. Meaning that if you can actually find partners from foreign country going to partner with you, there was no condition on that. You can actually, the school can actually owned by 100% foreign investors. Okay, and in terms of membership of the board of directors, it is a compulsory to have at least one Malaysian citizen as a members of the board of directors. Okay. Next one will be on the land area and premises. This is actually quite a lot of changes since the last one. Okay, in 2012, I think what I mentioned earlier, they got about the requirement of 5-acre land is there. Okay. But for this time, okay, since the trend of setting up international school is quite changing, okay, because there are some applications saying that they wanted to have just primary international school, they also just wanted to have secondary international school, because prior to this one, we actually only allow a full-fledged international school, meaning you start from the Hindi up until your post-secondary, A-level, you can go up to that. So that is the license that we're going to approve. But then because of the demand from the industry saying that we don't want to have a very big school, like from the kindy up until secondary, about 2,000 students, is hard to manage, for example. So they wanted to have just primary school, which is consists of kindy and the primary school, or the secondary school only, or they can actually have both from the kindy, primary up until the secondary. So we divide it into this land size build-up area, okay? So requirement for each international school have to be following up the following build-up area. So for example, if you are setting up only primary international schools, okay? So the minimum build-up area is actually 30,000 square feet, okay? For secondary school, they got at least 25,000 square feet. And if you are doing full-fledged international school, okay, meaning from the kindy up until the secondary, it will be at least 50,000 square feet. I think this is actually quite a lot of changes since the last time we say about the land area must be 5 acres, and then the number of classroom must be 40 classroom. The total number of students that you can actually accommodate is actually 1,000. This time actually a smaller size of international school, but then still you have to meet the minimum requirement that we put in. Okay? And then in terms of number of classroom, last time we said at least 40 classroom. Right now, if you are only running for primary school, you have to have at least 20 classrooms. Plus, for the secondary, you only have to have 15 classrooms. And then if you're doing for both, you only need 35 classrooms. So that is actually a reduction from 40 to 35 classroom only. That is only the classroom. But then still, you still need to have all the special room that need to be prepared for the needs of the curriculum. For example, if you are taking Cambridge or British as your curriculum of choice, then all the requirement of the special room that need to be prepared by the school for you to run the curriculum need to be there. So we're talking about right now the total classroom number is only for the classes to be used as a classroom. But then the square feet, the built-up area is actually for the whole thing, like all the facilities and everything must be come down to at least 30,000 square feet for the primary, 25,000 square feet for the secondary, and if you're doing both, it's actually 50,000 square feet. Is it okay? Very clear on that? Okay, and then one more thing, because right now we can see that since we are giving out the land area to build up areas, so most of you actually can come up with the building that already there, okay, the existing building. So what we need for you to actually get from the local authority before you submit to us is actually the approval from the local authority to use that particular premise or land as an educational institution. So this is not the like approval for planning of the building, or like normally in KL we call as kebenaran merancang from DBKL, but it's actually just approval from the DBKL, for example, saying that yes, this building or this area is allowed to have an educational institution or can be used as educational institution, because we have some discussion with the local authority saying that they normally have their planning, the town planning, saying that this area will be for industrial, this area will be for residential. So if you can get that letter, then submit to us, then we can actually consider for you to use that particular building or premises to be an educational institution, because the utilization of premises on land is actually the local authority's power to actually allow it or not. Even if we say yes, we allow for you to run in the international school in that particular building, if the local authority say no, we still have to reject your application. Okay, so that's why you have to come up to us at least a letter from the local council, local authority, saying that yes, you can use that particular building or premises to run an educational institution. Because when we talk about educational institution, the local authority quite particular about the traffic flow, about the safety. So that kind of thing that is beyond the Ministry of Education control. We also didn't have the expertise on translating whether that building is actually safe for the students to use or not. Okay, so that is actually under the local authority. So it is good for you to have a good relationship with the local authorities so that you can actually find where is the best place or what kind of building or what kind of premises that can you use for educational institution. Okay. This one that I mentioned about the surrounding area should be conducive to conduct educational institution. The ratio of classrooms, so far we still stick to 1 class to 25 students. Okay, that is the maximum number for students for international school in a classroom. And then the special room, like I mentioned earlier, you must have special labs, science lab, music room, art room. This is actually depend on whatever curriculum that you're going to choose. Okay, because even later when Mr. Ng actually talking about the curriculum, you can actually choose whatever subject that you wanted to run in your school, but then that subject normally have like for you to actually prepare the facility for that particular subject to be run. So all the facilities that needed to be prepared by the school, you have to have it. Okay, and then the Muslim prayer rooms or surau must be allocated available in accordance with the curriculum requirement. Okay, this same goes for the co-curricular activity like the game courts or field or recreational and game purposes must be allocated in accordance with the curriculum requirement. Okay. About this one, not all the internet school must have swimming pools. Okay, last time we do mention about at least you got in the 5 acre land you must have your swimming pool, must have your field and tracks facility. But then this time you actually can suggest to us saying that we have like MOU with this particular premises for you to use for your school to use the facility like the swimming pool and everything. So when you come to us planning submit the application, you have to come back. You have to also mention about the planning of how for your school to run the co-curricular activity if the facility is not in your premises or it's not in your control. Okay, so we have to know. When you say that are we going to have students going for their swimming classes every Wednesday, for example, where are they going, when, how are they going? So that kind of planning also has to be mentioned in your proposal so that we know, okay, this kind of school will provide all the facilities for the student to be used, but then it will not be in your control, but then how you're going to manage it, okay? Next one is actually about the name of the school, okay? So because we are allowing the school to be registered as primary and secondary separately, so the name will be like, for example, if you are running for a primary only, so it will be, let's say the name is Britannica, so Britannica International Primary School. That will be the name, okay? For primary. If you are only running for secondary, it will be Britannica International Secondary School. But then if you are running for full-fledged international school, then we can call you as Britannica International Schools, okay? In terms of names, okay, if you are using special name, for example, the one that I gave you example, the Britannica, that is a special name that been recognized in the whole world. So you must have like a special permission or a special letter from that particular body saying that yes, you are allowed to use that name to name your school after it, okay? Because we already have some school that come out to us and then their name is quite similar with the existing school. So normally we're going to suggest you to come up with another name. But then if you have a special name related to a very famous institution outside of our country, for example, you must come out with a letter saying that yes, that people already given the approval for you to use that name, or there are some collaboration between your school and that particular bodies, then you are allowed to use that particular. Because for me, as far as we know, when you set up an international school, the branding is really quite important. When you put up the name that is already renowned to the world, so you can actually have numbers of students from foreign country coming in because they know that the establishment of that particular international school are based on the name that already there. The brand is already there. For example, right now there are a few brands like Epsom, Marlborough. Okay, they are the only branches outside the UK is actually in Malaysia. So that kind of what we call renowned name can actually bring not only the Malaysian to go in, but then the foreigner to come into Malaysia, and that can help the country to become the educational hub of education. Because that is one of the ideas for Ministry of Education and Ministry of Higher Education. We wanted Malaysia to be the education hub, the excellent education hub for this region. So by bringing out these names, the renowned name in the international industry actually can help us to actually achieve that target, okay? The next one will be the curriculum. Okay, so far, like I mentioned earlier, you must use the international curriculum, but then English as a medium of instruction. Right now, these are the 5 curriculum that we are allowed the international school to use. Okay, British, American, Australia, Canada, and IE. That's all. But then, let's say you have a very good collaboration with a particular country. For example, Germany. They have a very good curriculum on technical or engineering, and it was not listed there. So what to do? You can actually come back to us, propose that we have this kind of collaboration, and this is actually going to benefit the Malaysian because they're going to get certification from this kind of university, this kind of institution, for example. Then we might consider to actually give the approval. But then if you are using these 5 curriculum, you don't have to actually come back, oh, we're going to use the American, we already got the approval from the American. You don't need to do that because it's already listed as approved curriculum. But then if you have something else, so far what we see in the Ministry of Education, these are the 5 renowned curriculum that can be accepted in any parts of the world if the student actually move out from Malaysia. Okay, that was the reason why we stick to this only 5 particular curriculum. So far, like I mentioned, like 2 months ago when the China actually coming in, they also have like the Chinese international curriculum. They might going to introduce it in Malaysia, let's say, but then so far it's not listed. So I say to the investor, yes, you have to come up with the proposal saying why we should like consider your curriculum to be implemented in Malaysia. Okay, but then still, because this is international school, so the medium of instruction must be in English. Okay. And then, if you are using British, supporting letter from the Cambridge International Examination Board, yeah, Mr. Ng is here, is required to be produced if using the British curriculum. Okay, so far, if you are using British, we have like a mutual understanding with CIE that if you want to use British curriculum, then you must have the approved, I think the approval letter from the CIE saying that yes, you are applying to run the IGCSE in your schools, okay? And then one more thing about the curriculum, okay? If you have more than 5 Muslim students, you must teach them Islamic study for at least 2 hours a week, and this subject must be included in the official timetable. This is actually requirements set in the Education Act 1996. Okay, so far if you have Muslim student, not to get, it didn't say that 5 students must be from that particular cohort of student age. The whole schools, you got at least 5 students, so all those 5 students must be taught the Islamic education. Okay. And then the board of governors. This is something important for you to understand, because every private education institution must have their own board of governors. This is also a requirement in our Education Act. So far we put in the minimum of 5 members, and that was the minimum numbers. You can go beyond that, but there must be in odd numbers. Okay, that 5 members of board of governors also have including the chairperson, and the 1 members of BOG must be a Malaysian citizen. Okay, for example, you are partnership with a foreign country, a foreign investor to set up your school, so at least 1 Malaysian to be there. Okay, why we need this Malaysian to be in board of governors? Because you, let's say if you are appointed as a board of governors to this particular foreign international school, you are accountable to make sure that the school are following all the regulation that is set by the government. Okay, not just by the Ministry of Education, but then by the government. Because we have issue where the international school who been run by foreigner, wholly run by foreigner, they didn't actually to close down the school during our public holiday. They didn't actually respect any of the state public holiday, for example. So that kind of situation is not allowable in our school that is registered with the Ministry of Education. So that's why we need a Malaysian to actually be the advisor to that particular board of governors to make sure that you are following all the rules and regulations. Okay, and then the principal of the school will be automatically act as a secretary. They cannot be the members of board of governors. They can only be a secretary. So they didn't have the principal didn't have the power to vote in that BOG. And then the members of BOG are not allowed to teach and must refrain from carrying out any teaching duties. All members must be free from all court action. This one is actually when you're applying. If possible, you can actually identify all the nominated BOG must be clear from any like blacklisting or the court action or so on. But then after you apply to us, we actually going to do the what we call check it out with our PDRM also, the names. If let's say the name you say is clear on your side when you do the application, but then when we put out the name to our counterpart in PDRM, and they say this person is actually blacklisted somewhere, so we going to come back to you, say that you have to change this one, you have to come up with a new name to change to replace that particular person. That's all. Okay. So don't worry about that, because there are some cases where the chairman the proposed chairman by the applicant is actually a blacklist. So you have to change the chairman. Okay. That was you don't have to think anything else, but then if it's listed under the PDRM, so you have to change it, okay? You have to replace it with somewhere else. And then all the BOG must have manager's permit, or we call it in bahasa is permit pengelola. This is actually after the school been registered, all the members of board of governors must have their own license. We will be, for example, let's say Mr. Kis is actually one of the board of governors for Petaling International School. So he will have his own license saying that he is allowed to act as a board of governor for that particular school. Why? You not just put down the name in the board of governor, because everything else happening in the school, the ministry will come back to the board of governors. So you must make sure that the people you nominated to be in the board of governor will be responsible to anything or everything that's happening in the school afterwards. Okay? And then all the international school also must have the instrument of governance. Okay. Sometimes the people who are coming up to us applying for the international school, they didn't understand what is actually the instrument of governance. Okay, we do have sample of instrument of governance. Actually, the instrument of governance is a requirement in our Education Act to guide the board of governors of what to do, how to do it, and all the power of a board of governors have for that particular institution. So we do have the sample, but then you don't have to follow our sample of instrument of governance. You can actually amend the instruments of governance to accommodate your needs, the needs of the boards of governors or the needs of the owners, to make sure that you have the power to do anything as stated in the education. Because there are some cases already right now happening in, I think in Johor, when the board of government, the chairman is appointed as the person who appointed as a chairman now turning head against the owner of the schools. But then because of the board of, in the instrument of governance, we didn't mention that the appointment of the chairman is actually made by the owner of the school. Now the power of managing the school are totally on the hand of the chairman without any, like the board of, the owner of the school cannot do anything. Okay? So that's why you as the applicant or the owner of the company, sometimes you don't have your name as the board of governors because you just wanted to have an internet school, but then you don't want to bother about the managing of the schools. But then make sure the instrument of governance is actually covering your side also. Yes. Okay? Because we have some cases like this, and then they come back to us saying that, what can we do? We are the owner of the school, but then now the chairman is actually like do against the needs of the owner of the school. Say, then we come back to the instrument of the governance. If the instrument is actually giving you the power to actually set the chairman, then you can actually set the chairman, then the chairman cannot do anything because it's already stated in the instrument. But then if it's not there, then you have to fight in the court. What to do? Okay? So that is something, sometimes people say, we just follow the template that we prepared by the Ministry of Education. These are the template for instrument of government. You never actually read and you just fill in the blank, and then suddenly something happened in the future. Then you come back to us saying that, then we are saying, so sorry, these are the instruments that you are agreed upon when you establish a school, so you have to follow that one. Okay? So be careful on the instrument of governance, because right now we do believe that several applicants that are coming to us, they never understanding what is actually the roles of the instrument of governance. So be sure that you really read through all the schools. This is actually like the lawyer's fine print. Okay? So you have to make sure that everything must be in favor on your side or also on the board of governors side, because before they've been appointed as a board of governors, they also must read their instrument of governance, so they know what are their what are their power, what are their roles in that. So that should be mentioned in the instrument of governance. So you must look very seriously on the content of the instrument of governance, not just using our template and then fill in all the blank. We do have that template, but then just for you as a guidance. But then you can actually change it, and then when you apply to us, you have to come up with a draft of the instrument of governance for us to actually look at it and then approve that instrument before you can use it. Okay? So any amendment to the instrument of governance which has been approved earlier must be submitted to the Registrar of General. For example, in your board of the instrument of governance, you say that the numbers of board of governance is 5. Okay, you're only allocating 5 members of board of governance. Suddenly you say that after a few years we need to add more. So instrument, the matters in the instrument of governance, you have to actually amend it first, then only you can actually appoint the new board of governance to complete as what you require in the instruments. Okay, so be sure that you really look at the instrument of governance, because sometimes, right now, what I can tell you, most of the applicants didn't actually understand what is actually the instrument of governance. They just saying that, oh, these are what we needed by the Ministry of Education, without seeing the reciprocal thing happening afterwards if there are some dispute between the board of governance, between the owners, because we can see that's already happening in a few cases. So maybe it's not that big numbers of cases, but then there are some cases already included from this instrument of governance. Okay. That's why in terms of students, okay, actually for international school, the purpose of we allow international school to be established in Malaysia is actually to cater for the foreign student. That was the main, the first idea of why we need international school, because these foreigners, they come and work in Malaysia, they need education that actually suit with their needs. So that's why the international school is there. So for taking international students, you must have approval from the Ministry of International Affairs or Kementerian Dalam Negeri. Okay, and then the international school student studying, they either have a valid student pass or dependent pass that has been approved by the Ministry of Education, by the Immigration Department of Malaysia, saying that you are allowed to study there. Okay, so there are 2 kinds of pass for the student, for international students to study in international school. One is a student pass, where they are coming as a student here, where the parents is not here. Okay, they just have their guardian, or they actually come with their parents and they are holding dependent pass. So what they do is actually just get endorsement from the immigration department that your child or this child is allowed to study in this particular international school. Okay, this is actually happening after the school is registered. The second one will be for the Malaysian student. Okay, for Malaysian student, okay, as you can see there, after 2012, after July 2012, we are allowed the Malaysian to go to international school without any conditions. Okay, before that, prior to that, back in 2000, before 2006, we not allow any Malaysian to go into international school, just like what Singapore implemented. Okay, but then there are some cases, special cases got approved by the minister. Then there are a few students who are allowed, a few Malaysian students who are allowed to be in international school. After 2006, we give out a new ruling saying that the maximum capacity of 40% of the capacity of the school is allowed to be Malaysian. Okay? Let's say you got capacity, maximum capacity of your school of 1,000, meaning that 400 of your students can be Malaysian. Okay? But then it was changing again in 2012, 6 years after that, where we allow 100% Malaysia to go to international school. So right now you can see several international schools calling themselves as international school, but then there was no international student at all. Okay. We really hope that even though you plan to go to target your school, for example for Malaysian, but then please also invite more foreigners to come in, more foreign students to come in. Just give the students the experience of being with the foreigners, okay? So that they are not, because what we can see, there are several schools who are like targeting for Malaysian, then 100%, like it's not 100%, maybe 98% are Malaysian. Actually, their schools operation becoming more like the government school, or more like the private school, where the students actually doing more on academic, more exam-based activities. But then if you can see a few international schools that I have been visited, you can see if you got lots of foreign students, then they get control numbers of Malaysian students. The students actually learning different ways of approaching the curriculum, not just study and then having tuition. Right now we can see the trends of tuition center to have the international school students to study, to prepare them for the exam. This shouldn't be happening, I think, because right, the international school already running up until 4:30 or 3:30, and then suddenly in the afternoon, in the evening, the student also has to attend international school. Attend the tuition center. Why? I do believe this is one of the culture in Malaysia, not Malaysia only. It's actually the culture of Asian, where the student need to be very excellent in the academic, but they're not looking at the whole holistic development of the students. Okay, I do believe that when they are enrolled in international school, what we hope is actually be a student with a holistic development, where they actually confident, they can actually very independent, not just excellence in academic. Okay, so if you plan for your international school, do have that in mind, because sometimes when you come for when we look at the proposal, it's actually very nice, but then after they are approved and they are running, then they come back to just like our private school or our government school, that is, come back to government school that really regimented for academic excellence only. Okay, and then when you taking Malaysian students, where right now most of our international school are filled with Malaysian, okay, the compulsory subject that you need to teach this Malaysian, Bahasa Melayu, Islamic education or moral education. If they are Muslim, so they have to study Islamic education. If they are Muslim, then they have to do the moral education, and also Malaysian history. All these three subjects must be included in your timetable. Okay, not just doing it on Saturday. There are some cases where international school actually running the Malaysian history courses on Saturday, and it's like voluntary basis. You want to come, then you come. No, it cannot be done like that. It should be included in your timetable. Okay, you cannot use the world history as part of Malaysian history. You have to have your own Malaysian history content to teach. So what you can do is actually you can refer to our national curriculum, syllabus for your Malaysian history. But then this subject is not an exam subject. Okay, so you just need to teach the student, but then of course you have to do some assessment on their capability of understanding all the subjects. But then it's not required to be an exam subject. We do believe that some international schools already implementing Bahasa Melayu using the Cambridge curriculum, and then make it compulsory for all the Malaysians to take the Bahasa Melayu subject as the exam subject. So that's one way to do it for Bahasa Melayu. There should be no problem. But then for Malaysian history, there was no Malaysian history in Cambridge, right? So you have to come up with your own syllabus for the Malaysian history based on the national curriculum syllabus for history, okay? You cannot say that we are teaching them world history where I don't think there was any parts in the world history mentioning about Malaysia. So then you cannot claim that you are, yes, we are running the Malaysian history, but then at the end, when we do some when we do some inspection, we can see that you are actually just teaching them the world history, not the Malaysian history. Because these are the Malaysian, we need to know, we need to make sure that the students actually being, the value of citizenship of Malaysia should be there, okay? Not just saying too proud learning the international curriculum, now they didn't know about their own history, okay? So this one, we have to be sure to be implemented because from time to time, we're going to do some inspection and we can actually take some action if you are failing to fulfill all these requirements, okay? Next one will be the headmaster and mistress. This is actually the guideline. Okay, this is actually subject to yours to pick up anybody. Okay, last time we had the maximum age of 65 for foreigners. For Malaysia, we didn't have that age limit. Okay, if you feel that particular individual is actually fit to be a principal, even though they are 90 years old, I don't know, okay? Because what we need at the end is actually must be in good health and gone through a medical checkup certified by a Malaysian medical practitioner, okay? That's why I said, so far in the Ministry of Education, we do want these experienced or these very good teachers to be head of all our schools. But then for the Malaysian, there should be no age limit as long as they are capable and they are in good health and being certified by a medical practitioner, then we going to approve that proposed name. But then for the foreigner, they must have their working permit and also their teaching permit to become the principal. Okay. So the headmaster, head princess or principal must be all the time present at the school to manage the administration of school. Okay, an appointed head is not allowed to serve as principal in more than one school. This has been some cases happening. Okay, you got a few branches of your school. You only appoint, for example, Mr. Kip, you will be the only principal for all the school that we have here. So it's not, it cannot be done like that because what we need to, all the principal must be in the schools. Okay. The principal must be in the school. You can actually appoint somebody else to be just like the supervisor for all the principals. That's why they got so many titles saying that these are the heads of principals or these are the supervisor of principals. So they are not located in one particular school, but then the principal must be there. Okay, this is actually more on the administration part of your teams afterwards. Okay. Next one will be the teachers. Same goes for the teachers. If you are actually hiring non-Malaysian, for Malaysian, the minimum requirement is only SPM. You have SPM, then you can actually allow that particular individual to be a teacher. But then I don't think you're going to pick any SPM or school SPM leaders to actually become a teacher in international school. That will not be a very good marketing strategy for your school. If you're looking, we only have teachers with SPM qualification. Okay, but then for foreign teacher, you must have, the teacher must be possess a minimum of degree in academic qualification and also have professional qualification in education. For example, they might be have a degree in chemical engineering, but then they also must have certificates or any diploma in teaching or in education. This is only for the foreign teacher. So far for the Malaysian, we didn't put that requirement yet. Okay, so just the minimum of SPM, and then you don't even have like the qualification to teach or the professional qualification in education also. For Malaysian is allowed, but then for foreigner, you must have the degree and also the professional qualification in education, at least degree. Okay, and then also must be in good health and go to a medical checkup certified by Malaysian medical practitioner. Okay, and then all the teachers must have a valid. This is actually after the school being operated. Okay. Next will be on the fee. It's quite important for you to know because last time we are quite lenient with the fees, the approval fee that we given, the initial approval fee that we given for you when you apply. Okay. So that's why there are some cases where the school actually just apply anything. You got the technology fee, you got the library fee, you got book fee, school, and then the sports fee, the multimedia fee. So everything wanted to collect from the students. So what we do right now is actually for this new guideline, we're going to break down only this category. So they got admission fee, the registration fee, and then the deposit. Last time, I do believe for those who know about the industry, the deposit is actually quite challenging. Okay, there are some schools who are taking one term's deposit or at least a minimum of 10,000 or 15,000, and then it come back to us when we allow this one because there was issue on refunding the deposit to the parents if the parents actually cannot fulfill their requirement, because the deposit refund policy that we implemented in several schools saying that you have to at least give out 6-month notice, 1 year notice before you can actually get all your before you can withdraw and get your deposit back. This is actually for us in the Ministry of Education is not fair for the parents. Okay, so that's why we are putting it like this. The maximum deposit you can charge is only 5,000. Okay, and then you also have to come up to us saying what are the conditions for the deposit refund policy that must be approved by the Ministry of Education. So there are some cases already when they apply earlier this year, they put in like 6-month notice in their refund policy. So we say that we're going to revise that one. We're going to deduct the number from 6 up until I think it goes to 2 months. I think 2 months or 1 month. Okay. So it will be for us. These are the kind of things that we say that we're going to take care in terms of the parents or students' interest. Okay, not just saying because now even the minister actually have the perception saying that the internet school actually collecting money from just the deposit from the student because it's quite lump sum. If you're in school, you got a few numbers of children studying there, then you got about 100,000 of them is actually only for deposit. Then that deposit is forfeited if you not fulfill just 1 day of the requirement that is set by the school. So that kind of thing is actually we try to make sure that it's also benefit the student and not actually harming the industry or the school to operate. Because we do believe that the deposit is actually just for your security to make sure that it didn't jump out from the school at any time. So of course we must have like certain rules and regulations, but then still make sure that interest of the parents or interest of the student must be the first priority. Okay, and then you are allowed to go. Okay, for the admission and the registration and the tuition fee is actually up to you. Okay, you can come up with any numbers with a strong justification why you need to have this, because what we did is when we process your application, we're going to compare your fees with the nearby or the existing schools with similar concept or similar size of school. For example, we cannot compare. For example, you just wanted to run a primary school. We cannot compare your primary school with, for example, ISKL or Moncara, which we know that is super high fees that we charge to the student. But then we're going to find the same size of your application with the already existing school and the location one, because that is actually something to be considered for us before we can actually approve. So you can come up with any numbers, but then it's still subject to the Ministry of Education to approve. Okay. Normally we're going to approve whatever you come up with, but then sometimes those, for example, there are some schools who, when they apply, they put in the admission fee 5,000. That's why we start questioning why the admission fee is 5,000. That's only fill in the form, submit the form, you already have to pay 5,000. So it's not actually something like, that's why I said people saying that internet school actually making money from this kind of activities. So of course, the admission fee of 5,000 we have to slash out, and then they have to justify to us back why they have to have 5,000. Because there are some schools say that from the form we have to go to the counselors, to the expertise to actually check the background. Okay lah, then you can actually find the right numbers for you to check. But that 5,000 for admission fee is quite high. It's not. I don't think they allow right now. At least you can go lower than that, much lower than that, and then. Even though we've been approved your fees, you can actually apply to increase your fees after 3 years of your registration. So first registration, after 3 years then only you can apply for increment of fees, and then it must not exceeding 30% of the one that we allowed earlier. Okay? So there are the kind of mechanism that the Ministry of Education control, because sometimes people keep put the finger to the Ministry of Education saying that we not control the private school or the international school, like they can do anything they want. No, we do have some element of control for the international school. Okay? Okay, that's all the guidelines that you need to do. So before you actually fill in the form, you have to understand everything on the guidelines. Try to make sure that you can fulfill all the requirements that I mentioned earlier. Then only you can come up with the procedure how to actually apply. So to apply, okay, to apply, first of all, you can download our form from BPS1 from our website www.moe.gov.my. And then the application must be addressed to the Director of Private Education Division, MOE, Level 3, Block E2, Complex E, but then do not submit to that particular address. Okay? You have to submit to our registry unit at Level 5 in another block. Okay? So because this is the procedure that's been running in Ministry of Education right now. If you come to us, come to our counter at Level 3, Block E2, I'm so sorry we can't actually accepting you arriving at our counter, but then you still have to submit your application at Level 5, Block E8. Okay? Because right now, the Ministry of Education doing the centralized post office, sort of mini post office of Ministry of Education in Level 5 of Block E8. Everything must go there. They are the one who registered all the application. Then only we will come back to our office in Level 3, Block E2. Okay? Then these are the documents that you have to submit together with the form, BPS1. Okay? Okay? And then, after we receive all the documents,
Can we have the previous one, sorry?
Those slides can be shared, right?
yes, can we share?
Okay. As I mentioned, you please scan the QR code, then all the slides can be shared with you. So don't need to take photo for every slide, right?
But then we need to get photos so that it can actually easy for us to browse through our phone. That's so that is actually normal things done.
If you download it on your phone, show the QR code.
Yeah, it can actually download to your phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the document that you need to submit together with our form BPS1. Okay, and then once we receive the application, the completed application, meaning that all the document, all the checklist is actually fulfilled, completed, then our test officer will start to process the application. Okay, if the application is actually fulfilled all the requirements, if you did not meet any of the requirements, for example, we say that you have to have board of governors of 5 people, then you only submitted 4, then you're going to reject your application. Or if you say that at least 30,000 square feet for the primary school build up, you only submitted to us 20, let's say the nearest 29,500 square feet, we're also going to reject your application. Okay? So be sure that you're going to fulfill all the guidelines that we put. Okay. If let's say you fulfill all the requirements, then what we're going to do is we're going to wait for our invitation for you to come and do a presentation to a panel in MOE. Okay. So this is actually going to take some time for the test officer to come up with, because when they do the processing of the application, they're going to be very strict to find all the documents. They might call you to like explaining things first before they can actually say that yeah, it's all meet the requirement. Maybe some not so vital information that we can actually get after or during the presentation. So that one can be accepted. Then you will call for a presentation. Then during that presentation, actually there will be a panel of officers. They're going to start questioning why. And we'll ask you explaining a few issues, for example, like mostly on the fees, on the how to run the curriculum, okay, and also on the premises, okay. And after that, after that presentation, you will be given a stipulated time to respond to any suggestion or remark made by the panels. This is actually where sometimes the applicant react very slowly to us, okay. For example, you have the presentation this week. We hope that you can come back to us as fast as next week, okay. But then sometimes after a month, then only come back to us. So then there will be the delay for your application to be approved. Okay. So after that, okay, we're going to give you the approval letter. Okay. Let's say if everything is in order, fulfill all the requirements. For us in our office, we're going to take your application to our Registrar General to be approved. Okay. Normally, after the checkup, after the processing, it will be approved by the Registrar General. But then sometimes the Registrar General also have something inquiries and everything. So we are the one going to represent you to actually explain it to our Registrar General. So let's say if everything is okay, then you will be given approval of establishment with several conditions that you have to fulfill, okay? And that letter of approval of establishment is actually valid for 2 years, okay? This is in case of, you start off from just a piece of land without any building, so that 2 years is actually for you to set up the building, okay? But then there are some cases where 2 years is not enough for you. So what you do is actually, you can actually submit extension, apply for extension of approval. Let's say you need another 1 year, another 2 years for you to complete the building. But then we're just not saying from that application of extension, we can actually give you the extension. What we need to know is you have to submit to us the development status every 6 months. Okay? Let's say from the first letter that you got, January 2018, the letter of approval, after 6 months, meaning in June, you actually come back to us saying, okay, we already done with the planning, we got the approval from the local council, for example, and we only started building in September. So there are the report that we need to know. So that when the time up for 2 years, we already see the progress. Yeah, they are doing the right thing, but then sometimes there are things slowing them down. For example, the local council or the approval on the building, for example. So then we can actually extend your approval of establishment, okay? Because there are some cases where the applicant already submit their applying for extension, like their approval only will end up this year, but then they apply for extension for 5 years. So that is actually not working for us like that. We have to see the progress, then only we can allow to a certain numbers of extension, okay? So we also not allow for you to have changes of ownership or changes of premises or location when you are given only the approval of establishment. Okay, after you've been registered, there will be another story. Okay, but then in times of approval of establishment, you're not allowed to change premises. If you are, let's say for example, the approval is given for your school to run in this particular land area in Puchong, but then suddenly that landowner have something else to do, and then they won't actually sell that or lease their land to you. So what you have to do is actually come back to us saying that we already the land is already been used for something else, so you have to change it. So what we do is actually you actually have to resubmit everything once again. That one is actually cancelled. Okay, but then in terms of Board of Governors, you can actually retain the same, but then just changing the location of it. But then you will have a new approval of establishment, not using the existing approval of establishment. Okay, and then actually the Registrar General has authority to cancel the establishment approval at any time if the elements of breach of conditions. Okay, that is like our power to actually cut out everything at any time that we want. Okay, then we come to the registration. Okay, let's say after you complete the building, you already got approval, so the institution can only be registered after it obtains certificates of fitness or certificate of compliance or CCC, or the approval of occupying the building or OP. Okay, and then the institution must obtain support document from the local council or city council, fire and rescue department and health department. So what you do from your establishment approval of establishment, you come back to us saying that yeah, we already complete, we already got the CCC, and then we already got the letter from the local council, for example. Then our part is actually going to come up with a letter saying that now you can go to the state education department and register your institution. Okay? So the applicant is required to inform any changes. For example, when you apply to us, the application earlier will say that you're going to have 35 classrooms, but then in the end, we got 40 classrooms, for example. So you have to actually inform us saying that yeah, there will be some changes in the classroom or some changes in the blocks. Let's say when you apply, you say that you're going to have 3 blocks. At the end, it's come out only 2 blocks, but then all the facility, all the numbers is actually the same. So you have to come back and mention to us saying that yes, there are some changes from the approval that we get earlier, so that the new information will be distributed to our counterpart in State Education Department. So when you register, you're going to have the right registration with the right block, with the right building, the right number of classes and everything. Okay? And then next one is actually you're going to submit your registration application not to the Ministry of Education, but then to the State Education Department in the respective state that your institution is. For example, in Kuala Lumpur, then you're going to send your application of registration to the State Education Department in Jalan Duta. If in Selangor, in Shah Alam. Okay. And then what you need to, there is another form for you to fill in for registration, and this form is actually gazetted form from the Education Act 1996. And you have to submit the applicant, the document of approval of establishment, the approved floor plan of the building, okay, and a copy of identity card or passport of the applicant, BOG, so principal. And then you can only see, this is the only time that you're going to pay, because 300 ringgit only. When you do the whole thing, when I talked earlier, you don't have to pay anything, okay? Only you have to pay to attend this seminar. But then, we are more than welcome to have you in our office to have discussion. Let's say you already got all the guidelines, okay? I already shared the guideline with BSM, so you can actually download the whole presentation. But then you still have some query or some information that you wanted to discuss and everything, you are more than welcome to come to our office without any charges. The only charge that you're going to pay is actually for the parking in our office. That is not actually included in our services. And this is the fee that you're going to pay to the Ministry of Education when you want to register. So only when you wanted to register, you only have to pay 300 ringgit. We are in process of revising this value. So grab this opportunity before we actually come up with the new revised value, which is probably another few zero maybe. Because when we taught this to our counterpart in higher education, they are quite, we are being the laughing matter to them because the application to register an international school, is actually private school can understand like it's very small, it's only meant for local. International school, also 300 ringgit, yeah, it's also 300 ringgit. Not to mention about the teaching the permit for the governance is only 2 ringgit. 2 ringgit, okay? That's also it's only 2 ringgit, but then it's troublesome for the school to actually do the registration of their board of governance. The same go for teachers. The teachers teaching permit is only 2 ringgit. Sorry, 2 ringgit. 2 ringgit application. Renewal is 1 ringgit. But then we are in process of revising that. So grab the opportunity to get the value of fees before we going to increase that. Yes, for sure we're going to increase that, but then 3,000. I don't know lah, 3,000. Okay. That's all. So if anything, you can actually contact me at these numbers or the email.
Take photos.
This one can take photo.
This one. Okay. And then actually the link down there is actually for the guidelines in our website. If you go to moe.gov.my, sometimes you get lost there. You don't know where to find the document, so you can go to this link directly. So you can actually straight away go to the guidelines, so you can have a copy of the guideline there. Okay? Okay. I think that's about it.
Thank you for that very informative talk.